in LA this week.
I haven't spoken to a single person who doesn't agree that what happened to George Floyd was just an incredible tragedy.
We have to live with our decision for 10 years, which means that if we don't get it right this time around, we have to wait another 10 years to 2030.
It's also a chance for hotels and motels to keep their doors open, keep their staff employed, and get payments for rooms that would otherwise be vacant. So it's really a win-win.
Hello, everyone. I'm Saida Pagan. Here's what's happening in LA this week. 2020 has proven to be a truculent year, and we are only 6 months in. Just when we seem to have COVID-19 at bay, the nation experiences new social unrest with the death of George Floyd. And with it comes curfews and protests. Councilmember John Lee took a few moments to share his own personal experiences with racial turmoil in the City of Angels.
Hands up, don't shoot! Hands up, don't shoot!
I want to have a moment of silence for George Floyd. Take a knee.
What are your thoughts on the protesting and the eventual looting that transpired this past weekend?
You know, I don't think there's a single person who saw or heard what happened to, George Floyd who wasn't affected by this. And I haven't spoken to a single person who doesn't agree that what happened to him was just an incredible tragedy. People out there feel frustrated with the system and frustrated that they keep seeing this over and over again, and that they want to share their opinions and their voice. But unfortunately, what I saw it turn into, the destruction of businesses, the looting, I just didn't understand how this was intended to fight the injustice of what happened to Mr. Floyd.
Now, have you witnessed any similarities from this past weekend's protests to what happened to LA in 1992?
My mom had a business in Koreatown in 1992.
Mm-hmm.
I saw the devastation of what happened to that area, and it's something that my parents never ever recovered from. While their business wasn't burnt down, everything around them was. And there was no reason for anybody to want to go down to Koreatown during the rebuilding process of it. And so it was a shame my parents lost their business. And so I understand the side of small businesses.
We know that violence doesn't solve any racial issues that we're having. What are your thoughts on how we can solve these problems that we're having?
I've always believed that, when we had I believe it was the mass shooting, I believe in San Bernardino, all of our mosques in our area, because this person was a Muslim faith, all of a sudden started getting death threats and threats against the different mosques. And what we needed to do at that time is to pull in people from all different faiths and to explain to them that evil is evil. I know this, hopefully it doesn't sound like a broken record, but we always have to keep moving towards, discussing more and understanding, just understanding all sides, because I may feel that I understand the perspective of what it means to be, someone of color, someone, a minority in this community. But that could be a whole different experience for somebody, who is of African American descent or Hispanic descent. We all have our own, different experiences that we draw from. And I think it's important that we learn from them.
There is a genuine concern that the large crowds gathering in the streets will cause the city to lose all the ground it has gained in the fight against COVID-19. But the LA Homeless Services Authority has remained on task, expanding their efforts to shelter the most vulnerable of the unhoused population. I sat down with Interim Director Heidi Marston to learn more about it.
It's called Project Room Key, and the goal is to provide secure hotel rooms for at-risk people who are also experiencing homelessness during the coronavirus pandemic.
Project Room Key is an initiative that was started by Governor Newsom, and the idea is to partner with hotels and motels across the state who might have vacancies in a time like this where there's many stay-at-home orders and businesses are closing down, to use those hotels as shelter for our populations of folks who are experiencing homelessness and need a place to shelter so that they don't contract coronavirus. The safest thing we can do to stop the spread of coronavirus is to be inside, self-isolate, and limit our exposure to others. If you're experiencing homelessness, you don't necessarily have the opportunity to do that. So providing this shelter that are individual rooms for folks makes sure that they're inside, that they're not coming into contact with other individuals, and that, again, their risk overall is being lowered of contracting and then further spreading the virus.
And what has been the response thus far?
We've seen some amazing opportunities with hotels really stepping up to do the right thing. Not only is it an opportunity for our population to get indoors, but it's also a chance for hotels and motels to keep their doors open, keep their staff employed, and get payments for rooms that would otherwise be vacant. So it's really a win-win.
And who is eligible?
You're either over the age of 65 or you have a chronic underlying medical condition where if you were to contract COVID-19, you would likely become hospitalized and potentially pass away.
How are people referred to Project Room Key?
One way is through our outreach teams who are out doing work with these folks every day. So we're identifying people who not only are eligible, but who want to go inside. We also have a very large network of nonprofit service providers who have the capability to refer through our system as well, who are working with folks coming into their shelters or their access centers across the county. We're not only bringing you indoors, but you have your own bathroom, you have your own TV, you have your own bed, and you don't have to worry about neighbors. And that's really healing for a lot of people. Just being able to come in and get rest is meaning more to folks than we could ever imagine.
Now, if people want to find out more information, where do they go?
They can go to lhasa.org. To see more. We have all of our resources on our website. We have videos and testimonials if you want to learn more just about the program itself, lhasa.org.
Thank you for everything that you do, and I know your people work really hard out there.
They're amazing.
Amazing
yes.
people.
Yeah.
When you think of a small business, what comes to mind? A florist? A beauty salon? How about a theater company? That's right. In this troubling economic time, artists need help too. Fortunately, the Department of Cultural Affairs is coming to the rescue. Maria Hall Brown has the story.
With the cancellation of hundreds, if not thousands, of performances and the closure of so many venues across Los Angeles, that means there's lack of income for not just the artists, but the venues themselves. But fortunately, my guest here has some good news. I'd love to welcome Joe Smoke, Grants Administration Division Director of the Department of Cultural Affairs.
The arts, design, entertainment, and fashion industries together make up the cultural sector, the creative sector of Los Angeles. It's our #1 economic engine. 1 out of every 6 people in Los Angeles is employed in this creative sector.
And COVID-19 became such a big part of our lives. So much had to stop. And, the DCA immediately created this fund to help out.
We've created a mini grant program. So thus far, we've spent $181,000. We've funded 471 artists with mini grants of $400. And these are monies that is a true relief program. We're giving them the money because they have spent time, bought materials, and lost a job due to the safer at home policy.
There's also some very specific categories and parameters of people who are eligible for this.
Sure. Music, dance, and theater was first. That was our decision because there's so many artists working in those fields. We've moved on to round 2, which is open now. We've added film, media, literature, and educational teaching artists. So if you were a pottery professor at a local shop and you taught groups of people pottery and now that's canceled, your series of classes is canceled, you can apply to this fund for some relief for those lost wages.
It's all online, it's all on the Department of Cultural Affairs website.
Very simple. You go to culturela.org. You'll see a little box that says grants and calls. Immediately you'll click through. You'll see a list of every program that's open. So if you're an artist and you've lost wages, You live in the city of Los Angeles and your canceled gig is in the city of Los Angeles, then you click on Artists Emergency Relief Fund and you fill out your one-page, it's a jot form, it's super simple. You just drop in your data and then the staff will call you if they have any questions or there's something that doesn't match.
I wish you all the best and thank you so much for supporting all the artists.
My pleasure, thank you so much.
Councilwoman Monica Rodriguez was in the neighborhood this week, giving back to communities of color that are disproportionately affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. This time, she partnered with Northeast Valley Health Corporation to distribute care packages. Take a look.
It gives me tremendous pleasure to be here this morning here at Northeast Valley Healthcare Corporation to provide some very much needed supplies to members in our community that many of whom have tested positive or struggling with trying to help protect their families from COVID-19. We know that communities of color are disproportionately being affected by COVID-19, and so the need is still tremendous for us to make sure that the families have the resources that they need to prevent and contain the spread.
I think this is a fantastic idea to offer the community these care kits because of living situations and overcrowdedness in a lot of the homes in the Pacoima area. I think this will really help the residents, especially if they're experiencing having a family member that has tested positive.
Este evento es una oportunidad para seguir diciéndole a nuestra comunidad que estamos aquí para ayudarlos. Nosotros, Northeast Valley, está aquí ayudando y protegiéndolos contra esta pandemia. Recuerde que todavía tenemos muchos servicios. Se pueden comunicar con nosotros por medio de los teléfonos si tienen dudas.
There's a great deal of work that we need to continue to do, and so I'm just focused on trying to help meet all of the needs as quickly as possible to help provide some relief for the families that desperately seek it.
It seems like there are countless ways to divide people into groups and categories. But as Maria Hull Brown reports, the challenge of the 2020 census during COVID-19 is making sure every person is counted.
It's incredibly important to be counted, literally counted. And here to tell us all about Census 2020 is the director of the LA Census, Maria de la Luz Garcia. So nice to have you here.
Thank you for having me here, Maria. It's a pleasure.
Given that everyone's life has changed in such a short period of time, I imagine how you were going to conduct the census here in Los Angeles has obviously changed.
Absolutely. We had a plan to do door-to-door canvassing and encourage people to respond to the census and make our case in person. Since the pandemic hit, we obviously have had to change strategies, and now we're relying on a remote phone bank operation where volunteers make phone calls from the comfort of their own home and convince people over the phone to respond to the census. But we're also relying a whole lot more on social media and trying to get the message out that people should respond to the census.
How do you feel COVID-19 is going to affect the census numbers?
I think we're all trying to grapple with the pandemic, right? On a very basic level. We're just trying to get by, make sure that we continue to have shelter over our heads, feed our families, and continue operating as normal as we can. That's the challenge that we have, is trying to rise through the noise and kind of wave to people like, hey, this is still important despite, what's going on in the world today.
Honestly, what does the census do?
Everything is related to the census. It really is the building blocks of democracy. The federal government uses census numbers to determine how funding is allocated to states, to counties, onto cities, based on the actual count that they have for the people living in those areas. And this includes programs in education, like our National School Lunch Program. It includes for housing programs like Section 8. It includes Medicare. And so there's a whole array of programs that without an accurate census count, the city would not receive the funding that it needs to service or meet the demand of its residents.
There are some fears and misconceptions about the census that I am sure many people have, just not based in fact. And how do you conquer those fears, and what are they?
Well, the way to conquer any fear is to get educated and knowledgeable about what the situation really is. They will never ask you for your citizenship or immigration status, and they will never ask you for a social security number. So when you respond to the census, you're not really providing them with too much detailed information about your family's status. You're just simply telling them how many people live in your household and then what their age is and their relationship to you, along with some other demographic characteristics. It's really easy to respond to the census. Whether you received an invitation in the mail or not, you can still respond to the census by going to my2020census.gov. You can also respond by phone at 844-330-2020. If you don't want a census taker to knock on your door, respond to the census before August 11th.
Goodwill of SoCal gives a jobs webinar. The SoCal Baptist Ministers Conference discussed the recent civil unrest, and LA County courts convene using technology. All this up next on City Beat.
The Baptist Ministers Conference held a march at LA City Hall, which included hundreds of clergy from the LA area to honor the life of George Floyd. The Peace March began at the corner of First and San Pedro with participating organizations including National Action Network Los Angeles, Churches in Action, and local pastors and churches. Los Angeles County's court system is expanding proceedings to include technology options. A program called LA Court Connect will allow attorneys and self-represented litigants to appear remotely through audio or video appearances. The first available cases involving civil settlements and probate matters start during the week of June 22nd. The program will launch in phases during the summer for all limited civil, unlimited civil and complex, family law, and traffic courtrooms. Goodwill Southern California will host Out of the COVID-19 Crisis, a pathway to shared prosperity, a webinar event to discuss the state of the job market and projections. The program will feature LA County Supervisor Hilda L. Solis and California Labor Secretary Julie Su. Register to participate. Visit goodwillsocal.org.
I'm here with Jamba Juice. They're having Jamba Juice for first responders. Very kind.
Today we partnered with Jamba Juice to provide a different assortment of healthy smoothies so that all the employees here at West Hills Hospital can come down, grab something quick because we know how busy they are. They're the ones that are protecting our communities. It's a small thing for us to just say thank you to them.
The work on the front lines is still very difficult. The patient needs are still very high, and to know that the community is still recognizing that and supports us means everything to me, but also, and more importantly, to our frontline caregivers.
We work really hard. All of us are trying to work together to help our community and all the people that are suffering from COVID, but it's really nice to be acknowledged, and it's very heartwarming.
We know that they're working 12-hour shifts, and when they get to the hospital, they're not allowed to leave. So we try to do as much as we can to bring food to them.
Organizations and businesses across Los Angeles are sticking to the mission of helping their fellow Angelinos in any way that they can. Encino Little League gathers canned goods, and Steamer Cleaners keeps first responders and job interviewees looking sharp. Check this out.
We as the Encino Little League community thought it'd be nice to help those that are less fortunate and have a canned food drive on a Sunday of Memorial Day, since we can't all be at the parks and beaches and celebrating like we normally would. All the food's going to be going to the SOVA Food Bank in Van Nuys, and then they will collect it, organize it, and then give it out to the public as needed.
The children are key to all of this. This is their Little League. This is where they get to play, and we're not only trying to play baseball, but build a community and teach our children that it's important to give back and take care of their own community around them, and this food is going to go directly to the people who live locally and are in need.
It's important to be here to help people in need who aren't able to get food, but we're able to help and give them food and make a difference.
We're a community that helps each other out, especially during these hard times. Together we can get through this, but it takes a whole village to get through it. Can't do it on your own.
Thank you for taking time out of your day. This is such an important cause, and your food will really, really, really help those in need.
We've been in business more than 30 years, and we've had a few locations, and this is our baby. We love steamer cleaners, we love the community, we love our customers, and it's such a pleasure and a joy to have this place. All the businesses, as you know, in California have been affected, and people are staying home right now, so they're not going anywhere to do too much cleaning unless they're on a Zoom interview or a Zoom call. Then they wear their jackets with their shorts. So obviously we don't have as much business now. However, we want to be part of the community, help in any way we can. Well, we wanted to do something to help everybody get on their feet. And for the last few years, actually, we've offered anybody going for a job interview to clean their outfits free.
We figured what a great opportunity. We have all the resources to provide this for the community. And my mom includes a letter about how to interview, and we'll come on in, set you up for your interview so you feel confident. Even if it's during Corona, you can feel good on Zoom. And then we'd love to hear everyone follow up. We love being part of the journey.
I know how important it is to be comfortable, be ready, feel excited, and feel prepared for an interview. Anything that we can do at Steamer Cleaners to help with that is such a pleasure.
We're offering fluff and fold delivery. We're offering regular pickup and delivery. We'll come out to your car. We're just trying to be as accessible during Corona.
Our customers are family. Our offer is open whether you're a customer or not. We want to get your outfit ready, get you ready to go, because your success gives us joy. We want everybody to prosper.
More than 30 million Americans have some kind of hearing loss. And with the crisis of coronavirus, everyone needed to have concise information and updates. Well, fortunately for Los Angeles, there's a wonderful team of ASL interpreters. And I'm delighted to have with us today Rick Polk, the coordinator for Los Angeles in the ASL team. So forgive me, I'm going to do it.
Hello, how are you?
I know. I learned the alphabet one summer just because I thought it was fascinating. So I think this whole world is amazing. And we've all gotten to know a little bit more about it because of the fact that you and your team have been part of all of these press conferences. When all of this began, did you have any idea that there was going to be such a need?
I had an idea. I've worked in emergency management prior to this. There's been press conferences and things of that nature in the field when we're dealing with fires. The pandemic itself was a unique emergency management messaging situation. Messaging was certainly the front lines of this fight, but you don't get really prepared for the sort of intensity when you realize that you're live in front of a better part of 1 million people. And also, you don't necessarily always know what the mayor is going to be saying, because they can give you talking points prior. But while you're looking at these talking points, they're changing.
There had to be some unbelievable creativity because we were talking that there was no word coronavirus.
Right.
There was no, how do you express global pandemic? There were things that you had to create the language within the language in order to express the information.
Well, one of the things that we're taught is to interpret for meaning. So a pandemic would be interpreted something like a disease that has spread around the world.
Okay.
Coronavirus, we didn't have a sign, but the deaf community the language has always adapted to the reality just like any other language, and the deaf community came up with coronavirus, which if you take a look at the molecular photographs that they have, that you have the nucleus of that virus and then those little spiked proteins surrounding it. So you figure out what that picture looks like and what it's going to look like in context, and it spread pretty quickly.
The first time we met and we had a chance to speak because you were interpreting for an interview I was doing over at the EOC, when you showed us the coronavirus, I spent like the next 2 weeks showing everybody, and this is corona, and because it was so visceral, and it just gave me more interest. How fast your mind must work to be able to do this is stunning.
It's been certainly a challenge. I can speak for myself that it has certainly been a challenge. Rapidity and clarity, just in any other language, do not necessarily walk hand in hand.
What do you know firsthand? How does this help people who have hearing loss and rely on this? What is the benefit to them, and why is it so critical, and why should we be sensitive to it?
When we're talking about the pandemic, it's life or death. When you talk about social distancing is not a strong component in the deaf community. When we greet people, we hug them. And interpreters do the same thing. We hug them hello, we hug them goodbye. So social distancing is a real issue in the deaf community. Therefore, that information, by all means, has got to get out to the deaf community, that just following cultural norms could endanger you.
The information that you're sharing is really inspiring.
The dedication to the people of Los Angeles has been undeniable. It's been unmistakable.
Join a guided meditation on Zoom. Self-guide your own museum tour, or blast off with the California Science Center. All this up next on Virtual Things to Do.
Since the California Science Center has shuttered its doors during stay-at-home orders, they've started posting daily live-streamed activities for your family to explore. Each week, the museum will focus on a different theme designed to bolster your child's science knowledge. If your dream is to be an astronaut, here's a fun way to get a head start. NASA has a section on its website full of virtual tours of the International Space Station, Hubble Space Telescope Mission Operations Center, and other iconic NASA facilities. Explore these pages and more on the new Stuck at Home Science tab. Visit californiasciencecenter.org. Every Thursday at 12:30 p.m., the UCLA Mindful Awareness Podcast holds a free drop-in 30-minute guided meditation session at the Hammer Museum. You can download the app, stream, or download these podcasts. Each week has a different theme and usually includes introductory comments, guided meditation, silence practice time, and closing comments from notable guests. Currently, Zoom sessions are led by Diana Winston, Director of Mindfulness Education at MARC. For details, visit hammer.ucla.edu/programs-events. Heritage Square Museum will be open for self-guided walking tours. With a disposable printed guide in hand, view lovely historic buildings from the outside. Stroll through beautiful grounds and take a look at luscious gardens in progress. Check in with the museum cat, Belle, and say hello to their many chickens. There will be a maximum time allowance of 1 hour for guests to visit to make certain all guests are able to visit. All proceeds benefit the good work they do for historic preservation. Schedule your self-guided tour of the Heritage Square Museum June 5th through July 31st. For details, visit their listing on Eventbrite. And that's a look at some virtual things to do.
That's it for this edition. I'm Saida Pagan. From all of us here at LA This Week, thanks for joining us. A reminder that you can catch us online at lacityview.org. We're also on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. See you next time for more LA This Week.